Have you ever looked back on your life and thought, maybe I've already messed it all up? A wrong choice, a moment of weakness, a season that felt like a complete waste. We've all been there, and it's heavy. Because once the thought settles in, it begins to whisper, maybe this is who I am now. Maybe this is all I'll ever be. But I want you to hear me clearly. No mistake, no failure, and no broken season has the power to cancel your future. You are not finished. And today we're going to unpack a story that proves it. And I promise by the end, you'll see your own life differently. Picture this. A young teenager, barely old enough to drive, discovers they're going to be a parent. Instead of celebration, there's silence. Instead of support, there's shame. The world instantly labels them failure, irresponsible, lost cause. Imagine carrying those labels before you've even had a chance to discover who you are. Imagine being told, your life is over before it even began. For years, that wound dug deeper. Everywhere they went, school, work, relationships, they carried the quiet voice of failure in their head. They didn't fit in anywhere. They weren't sure who they were supposed to be. And every attempt to reinvent themselves felt like wearing someone else's shoes, too tight, too painful, impossible to walk in. So what do you do when you don't belong anywhere? You search, you experiment, you chase, you run. For the next 10 years, that's exactly what happened. Searching for identity in success, in friendships, in romance, in places that promised escape, but only created more pain. Maybe you've been there. You stayed in a job you hated because at least it looked respectable. You forced yourself into a relationship because being alone felt scarier. You chased achievements, hoping they'd finally silence the shame. But the problem is this: when you build your life on what others expect, you're building a house of glass. It looks solid from the outside, but one small storm can shatter it. That's what happened over and over again. Nothing stuck. Nothing satisfied, nothing healed the wound. And then came the breaking point, the moment of truth. After years of running, they finally asked the hardest question. What if I just stood flat-footed in who I am? What if I stopped chasing approval and started accepting myself, even if it meant standing alone? That's where real transformation begins, not in pretending to be someone else, but in finally facing yourself. It wasn't instant. It wasn't easy. At first, sitting with themselves felt like torture. Shame screamed louder. Regret replayed like a broken record. The silence felt unbearable. But something happens when you stop running. Over time, the noise quiets. And in that quiet, a new voice emerges, the voice of truth. Here's the metaphor that unlocked everything. Life is like a cupboard full of ingredients, some sweet, some bitter, some confusing, some you wish weren't even there. For years, they tried to throw the cupboard away, pretend those ingredients didn't exist, hide the pain, deny the mistakes, start fresh with new, shiny ingredients. But that never worked. Because here's the truth. You can't cook with ingredients you don't have. You can't build a future pretending your past didn't happen. You have to open the cupboard. Look at what's really there, the mistakes, the scars, the victories, the resilience, and ask, how can I use this? At first, it felt impossible. What good could possibly come from shame, from regret, from years of brokenness? But slowly, the recipe began to change. The bitterness of failure mixed with the sweetness of resilience. The sour taste of regret combined with the rich flavor of wisdom. What once felt unusable became the very ingredients for strength, compassion, and authenticity. Here's what's wild. For years, they thought their story disqualified them. But when they finally shared it, not the polished version, but the raw, unfiltered truth, people leaned in. Instead of judgment, there was connection. Instead of rejection, there was recognition. People who thought they were alone suddenly felt seen. And that's the secret. Your story, the one you're ashamed of, might be the exact story someone else needs to hear to find hope. What you think disqualifies you is often the very thing that qualifies you to make an impact. So, what do we do with this? How do we apply it? Stop punishing yourself. Healing doesn't come when you keep replaying your failures. You can't move forward while dragging guilt behind you. At some point, you have to forgive yourself. Sit with yourself. It's uncomfortable. It's cringy. But it's necessary. Only when you stop running do you discover who you really are. Use your cupboard. Stop wishing you had someone else's story, someone else's life. Your ingredients, even the painful ones, are enough. Tell the truth. Share your story, not to impress, but to connect. Someone out there is waiting for your honesty. Here's the most powerful truth of all. Most people underestimate how necessary their existence really is. They live like they're random, like their presence doesn't matter, like they're replaceable. But you are not random. You are not replaceable. The very breath in your lungs carries value. If you truly understood how valuable your presence is in this world, it would change the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you think. The world doesn't need you to be perfect. The world needs you to be present. So maybe today, you're staring at your own cupboard, and all you see are leftovers. Mistakes you wish you could undo, memories you wish you could erase, seasons you wish never happened. But hear this, you are more than your worst decision. You are more than your lowest moment. You are more than the labels others gave you. Open the cupboard, look at what's inside, own it, use it, and watch how those very things you once hid will become the ingredients for a future you never thought possible. Don't wait for a perfect moment to finally feel worthy. Worthiness doesn't come later. It begins now. Gather the small sparks, the flickers of truth, the little moments of courage. Over time, they will light up your world and the world of everyone around you. You are not a mistake. You are not a leftover. You are here right now for a reason. And when you embrace all of who you are, you don't just change your own life, you change the world.